It's now time for Monster Soup, with your really fun at parties host, Dave Spencer, and his level-headed co-host, Brian McKinney. These dudes will explore all the crazy mysteries roaming our forest and deserted hallways. After all, monsters are real. It's Monster Soup time right now. Get it while it's hot. And now your hosts, Dave and Brian.
Hello. Welcome to Monster Soup. It's a kitchen conversation of misfits, cryptids, and these kids. I am David Spencer, your Golden Retriever host. And if he tucks it, he calls himself Brandy, but we like to call him Ryan McKinney. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Fantastic.
It's another end of another fabulous week. We're ready to get the weekend going with a little Monster Soup.
Yeah, today we're going to be having a fun topic, which is going to be a little more sciencey, which is very exciting for me. But first, what have you been up to, buddy? Anything cool?
Not too much this week. Just working. Oh, you know what? On Wednesday, I did go back down to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for a movie premiere. There's a new Led Zeppelin documentary coming out called "Becoming Led Zeppelin," and I went to the red carpet premiere of it. And it was awesome.
Yeah.
If you're into, music documentaries and especially Led Zeppelin, it was totally awesome. It started off with, kind of their childhood stories and then just how they, ultimately got together. And it kind of just, I don't want to say too much about it. It comes out in a couple of weeks, but I highly recommend if you're, I went a few weeks ago to the premiere for that Bob Dylan movie. Which is, an actual motion picture, full on movie. It's nominated for all the awards and everything. This is a straight up documentary, so it's, it's a different vibe. If you're into more of the movie scene as opposed to documentaries, but as far as music documentaries go, I thought it was really cool.
Do they talk about it's cool witchcraft?
No, they didn't get too much into that because it kind of, it's just kind of them, but right up to where, it gets into a little bit of their success, but not too much into the, the avant-garde and all the weird stuff that they got into. And with Jimmy Page and his witchcraft and all of his other oddball things he got into.
I listened to a podcast called, I think it was about David Bowie and Jimmy Page's witchcraft feud. They both were really into it back in the 70s. And I was obsessed with it. It was so cool. Just about their I don't know. I imagine it lightning bolt.
They were sorcerers battling each other.
Yeah, and how kind of cool that would be if it was if they. I'm sure they just did it in a very whatever way, but you're really cool to think about it. He's singing to him with his power, and then David Bowie, and then Jimmy Page would be playing the guitar and his dark magic would come, and it would fight what is it? Have you ever seen Mortal Kombat 2 where their animalities start fighting the dragon? And I forget what Kun Lao's was, but they were just maybe like that.
Or even in Big Trouble in Little China, where they have the sorcerer fight at the end, and they're doing at the end of their magic is two fighters that are actually fighting each other, but they're back behind controlling everything.
That would rule. Oh man, if only life was super cool and that. That was let all that stuff plays out. But it's just two very drunk people just being you.
My
I'm mad at you.
Stronger than yours, yeah. But it was cool. I think, like I said, it was just kind of their upbringing up until they basically became the biggest band in the world. But it ends pretty early in their career. But the way it ended, it lended itself to there's probably going to be other documentaries that covered different parts of their career, up through the end. But it was awesome.
Oh yeah, that sounds fun.
But yeah, other than that, just working this week. Don't have any plans this weekend.
My wife got tickets to go see the Cavs. For my birthday is next week, but it was a celebration this week, which is funny because our friend Amy was you took Dave to a sporting event for his birthday. Just like, yeah, we scored so many touchdowns, you know. And she's just like, because she literally like gets mad at me because I just don't care about any of her thing. Like she is like the biggest Ohio State fan, and I do not care. My wife went to Ohio State, and I just like don't care.
Mhm.
I'm so over hearing OH, and then also followed up by IO. I'm just like, stop. It gives me. I know people find joy in that. I for some reason that's the one plant in the sand that I don't find joy in, and I don't want anybody else to.
You're like,
you know, like
you're like, I don't like to yell when I spell. I like to keep it, you know, more low key.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. We're talking about spelling here. I gotta focus. As somebody who's definitely uploaded the misspellings to our like YouTube page.
Yeah,
I'm like, I misspelled asteroids in the title of this one. I think I was able to correct it, but we'll see. So this episode might be spelled wrong, and just get over it.
Yeah. It's funny how some people, when they find out that you're not into sports at all, you know, are kind of like annoyed by it. But most of us just find it endearing that you're like, hey, it's not. I'm
was like surprised because she thought everybody in Ohio like sports. I was like, yeah, but that can't be possible.
Yeah.
Like in what world? But was it? But either way, it was super fun. We had a good time. But the whole time I was thinking like, I can't believe they also do the monster truck thing here, because we've gone to the monster truck event a few times there, and it's just like super fun to like just watch it in that arena. And I'm just like, and I know they take away like a lot of the chairs that are there for a basketball game. The basketball game makes it a lot more intimate, whatever. But like it's just funny. You're like, there's a like Gravedigger is gonna be here next week doing like a 360 spin on a dirt mound, and it looks like this now.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just wild to me. And then but yeah, you were telling me that they're gonna be making a new Brown Stadium, so they'll be able to actually like get the big boys out and do the real jumps.
Get them in like an actual, you know, stadium as opposed to an arena. So they get, you know, when you see like the really cool videos of them doing the great big jumps, it's always like at a football stadium as opposed to, you know, a basketball arena. So, you know, back, you know, in like 2029 or whatever, when this supposed new Brown Stadium, assuming it, you know, they get it all litigated out and everything, they'll be able to have, you know, the great big shows there.
I'm gonna be the first one there. Ever since I was a kid, I've always wanted to go to a monster truck show, and then my wife took me one randomly that we got through Rachel, and I was just like, "This is the best gift I've ever gotten." It's so much fun going with the kids and like seeing all that, and it was fun the whole time. And then it immediately made me like look at other shows, and then I found out there's one in Michigan that was like actually on the football field, and I was like, I want to do that. I want to do that.
Yeah.
There's also next week. There's what is it? There's a WWF thing on the 3rd at I want to say Gund Arena, but it's called the Jake. Or is it called? No, it's not. It's not called that at all.
I'm on sports, David. It's called the Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse.
Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, Rojo Fijo.
The Jake is what we still call the baseball stadium, Progressive Field.
Yes. Which was totally lit up last night, and it was almost blinding at a certain point while we were driving by it. I'm like, at what point is this not a hazard?
Yeah. They're doing all those renovations, so they're working like 24/7 on it. That's why
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, we thought it was just because of the game, and it kind of like gives downtown like a vibe. Oh my god, my wife was like, do it. Tons of stuff
they got to get, you know, they've been doing it like over the last couple off seasons. And they're, you know, trying to get stuff ready for opening day at the end of March, so they're working 24/7 on it.
Oh, got it. Well, that's cool. Yeah. But yeah, it was fun. We had a good time, even though I'm not a sports guy. But like, you know, they make the game fun, and there was like tons of stuff happening the whole time. So you know, it was, you know, I don't expect anything for my birthday, so it was a nice little like, hey, Dad, we're doing something, and my daughter couldn't have been more excited to tell me about it. She was just like, I know what you're getting for your birthday. I was like, okay.
She's like, you're gonna get a $20 beer. That's what you're gonna
get. No, that's the bad thing, is we couldn't even drink because I'm doing dry January. Which is over tonight. We're actually we kind of declared that tonight was the last night because my wife's parents are coming over. So we're like, let's just make tonight the last night, and then we'll have a drink while they're over and hang out, and be normal people. But then I'm also doing keto right now, so it's it's just like, what do we? I should have started. I didn't know I was going to start keto. I should have done keto and dry January at the exact same time, but I staggered them because I sat on the with the weight thing.
Scale.
The scale. I sat on the scale and then was like, I need to do something about this. And then so my wife was just like, you should have done this like at the beginning of January. I was like, I know, I don't plan accordingly.
Yeah, you could have just been miserable for 1 month as opposed to.
Yeah, so today would have been the last day, and I could have pounded some pizza tonight. But unfortunately, I'm going to be having. Well, I'm going to have wings, so I guess it's better. It's fine. Yeah. I'll be okay. I'll be just fine. But yeah. So, what else is there? Oh, I also discovered a new band that I love so much. They're called the. I thought I wrote them down. Where are they at? Oh yeah, wait. Nope, that's not it. It's called the Idols. They just came up. I don't forget where they came up. I think they came up on my. They came from my TikTok, and they were amazing. And if anybody's into them, check out their song called "Dancer." Really, I listened to that song for about 24 hours straight. I also have ADHD, that like hyper focus ADHD, where you like can't get over something. You just listen to the one thing for hours and hours and hours. So that might have had a lot to do with it. But it hit me at the perfect spot, and I only want to listen to that song, and I shared it with everybody I could come into contact with, and they also agreed it was a good song. So, and then my wife said, "You didn't send me anything," and I was like, "I absolutely did," but she never watches my TikToks because that's what you're supposed to do as a spouse. But you're just like, yeah, I don't care. But yeah, so that was a band I'm really into. It's called the Idols. Their song's called Dancer, and it's super good. And I think I want to say it's maybe one. I didn't do any research on it, but I thought I saw something where it was like the guy from LCD Sound System. If you don't listen to them, they're also amazing. They're just like a kind of like a weird, not traditional kind of music. It's like kind of strange, and I think that's kind of the same vibe. So if you like things like what's the band? Joy Division and things like that, and like weird, strange, like I would compare it to the Cars, the way the Cars sound, just that kind of like off kilter, kind of weird music. But that's what I'm into. So, cool. Yeah. So it's been a weird week. I won't talk too much about my personal feelings about it. Overall, about everything that's been going on, but just know this that. It's okay to have diversity in your life, and that diversity brings you to things that you wouldn't otherwise discover in the world if you didn't have people with different perspectives in it. If you know, but there's a theory called the vinegar in the pantry theory, and I don't know if this is an actual theory. I just heard a long time ago. And the idea is that people of different cultures keep their vinegar in a different spot, and within that, you find a different way to make your food. So if you're going to reach for your vinegar in your fridge versus your pantry, you'll grab different ingredients that you might be like, oh, let me do this to spice it up. Let me do this to spice it up. If you go for your pantry, you'll grab different spices there. So when you bring those together, when you cross ideas with people that aren't the same people as you, that aren't just a rubber stamp of Gary again, no offense to Gary's out there, but you can discover a cornucopia of wonderful ideas, and that's what this world's all about, specifically this country. So yeah, I don't know, do better, everyone. So that's my 2 cents on that. We're trying our best over here, guys. We're trying our best. But this week, I want to talk about this. So we had a different plan for this week's show. Originally, we were going to talk about this murder and everything, and then I discovered something midweek, and it was the results came back from this rocket that they had sent to an asteroid, and it's the OSIRIS-REx. They've launched this whole process in 2020, and obviously, like 2020, we all know what happened around there.
Well, actually, it launched in 2016. They collected the samples in 2020, but it started in 16.
Yeah.
But before we get too far into that, I just want to say, like when Well, we originally were going to have somebody on to talk about ghosts and stuff like that, but we had to push that off. So we had our murder one that we'll get to eventually, but which that one's going to be great. But when you were like, hey, let's do it on the origins, spectral interpretation, resource identification, and security regolith explorer, I was like, that sounds awesome. And I was like, oh, they shorted it down to OSIRIS-REx. Yeah, let's do that.
I know it was. What was it? I heard a scientist describe it to Neil deGrasse Tyson. He goes, "I'm never saying that again." He's like, "You guys are really trying to go for an acronym, and you just put all these words together to make it." Because I think Osiris stands for something, and then Rex, they wanted to just put dinosaurs in there, which is just a wonderful thing. It just makes me so much joy that, like, you know, obviously they're scientists and they're into like fun little weird things, but it's just God, I love that. I love it so much. But yeah, so you know, they like you said, they started development on this thing, and you know, through the process of trying to figure out how to get all this together, and they basically there's Bennu is Bennu is this asteroid that's been circling our, you know, solar system for a long time. In 150 years, it's projected that it might hit Earth at some point, but like, you know, we have plenty of technology to kind of but that's besides the point. It's rare for it to happen, but that's the reason why we kind of keep an eye on these things, like what they're doing. But you know, we've been for a lot of years trying to figure out what's on these asteroids. You know, like what can we mine from them? You know, what can we learn from them data wise, or even, you know, just all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
and
just, you know, learn like the origins of the universe kind of stuff.
Yeah. And there's so much to learn from them, and there's so much to like data gathering from them. So we keep an eye on them for a lot of reasons, and you know, it takes a whole lot of math to get there. So you know, shout out to all my math peeps. You know, so getting out there and getting the right team and right everything to exactly do this whole thing was a huge feat by NASA, doing all this in a collaboration effort between a lot of scientists. And basically, they grabbed a piece of, you know, my favorite story is that they thought that when they so it was a drive-by mission. I forget what they call it. They stop and go. So they basically didn't land on it. They just kind of hovered over it and then grabbed the sample and left.
But they hovered over it for 2 years trying to find the right spot to land and to do that. And I'm not sure if you read about this or not, but I'm going to get into that a little deeper along the way of how they did that. But yeah, it took like 2 years to get there. They basically orbited it for 2 years to try to find the right spot, and then collected that sample.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know which part you're going to get into, but like they thought that they could find a spot. But originally they thought it was a lot smoother, and then they get closer. They're like, oh, this place is just made of. The analogy that I kept hearing was that it was just made of like those play balls that you would play in when you were a kid, you know, like a bouncy pit or a ball pit. You know, they thought they would go like an inch in, and they ended up going like a full like dip in. So and they were like, oh, and they had like a bounty of samples to take from this thing, and they're like, oh, fantastic, and they bring it back, and I don't know, did you have something to add to that part?
No, we can get into that later if you do.
Okay. But yeah, so they take it back, and they started you know, seeing what do we got here, and by the way, that ship is already going to another asteroid, so it dropped its payload off, but it's still going to another planet. Or another asteroid to do the exact same thing again, which is fantastic.
That's so crazy, you know. And you hear people talk about, you know, they don't trust science, they don't, you know, whatever. But people here made this thing, programmed it, and launched it out into space. It flies for 2 years. It gets to the point they want it to. It orbits that thing for 2 years, trying to find the right spot to take the sample. Takes the sample, comes all the way back to Earth, drops it right down where it's supposed to, and then takes off on its next thing. You know?
Yeah.
But we don't trust science.
Yeah. Not only did they feel confident that they were going to land, they felt confident they were going to be able to do it again. That's just like, hats off to you. You know, like, so I salute you. Absolutely. Let's go. So that was very cool. So within all these efforts, we gathered that, and that one's already on its way to a different thing. But we got these samples, and the most interesting part was when they dug into these samples, what they found, and this was just released this week, as far as I'm aware of, was that they has 14 of the essential amino acids and 5 of the nucleobase nutrients containing the compounds that are the building blocks of DNA and RNA. And so within that, these are basically this is a time capsule of the universe. So the way that we build planets is based off of, like, it's rewriting the history of how planets are made. And within that, think of it like a life seed. And then basically there's this planet that's Earth, that's in the perfect distance from the sun, where it needs to be. And all of a sudden this asteroid hits it that has the particles that have the DNA that's slowly built.
Like the building blocks of life, you know.
Yeah, and it starts terraforming over billions of years, and then slowly builds that. I mean, like, if history is to be believed in the ways that we know it, everything kind of starting in Africa, it hits Africa and builds out from there. And then even things like water. I mean, they found the salts, not water, but the salt that would be salt water,
like the remnants of it, dried up water. Yeah.
So it's like essentially a piece of a planet that already had all this stuff, and it just these things are just flying around the universe, having a time, and then it hits our planet, and then like starts building from there. And and immediately I was just like frothing at the bit. And like, as soon as I started hearing about this, I was like, right, we gotta do an episode of this. Because I think this stuff is very exciting and very cool.
And it's always been kind of one of the theories of how life got here was asteroids crashing into Earth and depositing that kind of stuff, but they never really had too much proof about it. And I know Japan had done this once or twice before, but this was the first time America has done it, and we had our sample was like the biggest sample of the times it's been done. And but yeah, just to be like, what if they determine there wasn't life on the asteroid, but it has almost all of the building blocks of life just sitting there right on it, ready to be delivered somewhere,
Yeah. I mean, it's the most fantastic thing. I just, seeing all that kind of stuff, it just, for me, is like a new thing. So what I was thinking is it posits like a new idea of, like, terrestrial kind of, I mean, there's all these planets that are available that are not in our solar system, obviously, but they're outside of our solar system that just have that perfect distance that they could just all of a sudden they get hit by this like life seed that's just drifting out there. I mean, obviously, like, this is the question that would be the big question, which is, if that came from that, then that came from that. Where did that come from? Like, you start at the beginning, but I mean, that's where you get into the confusing thing of, where does life begin in the universe? Then, like, what happens if it's the Big Bang? Then before the Big Bang, what was there? Was there nothing? Is time circular? So, because there's a measurement that they go, the stars are actually drifting away from each other, like,
the universe is expanding.
Yeah. And so in our foreseeable space is getting farther and farther away, so it's getting bigger, and then eventually, and I think that's also slowing. I think they decided, they were like, oh, that process is slowing over time, and then they think it's kind of, it maybe will slow and then also crunch in on itself. So, like, we have the Big Bang, and then we'll have the big crunch, and maybe that is the, like, just gestating of it's just a breathing universe that just crunch and then restart and then crunch, and then this is just a multi-billion trillion year process of, like, that's just how it works, and then we restart the universe, and then it goes again, and then, but it was like, who decided that? How does that happen? Is life just absolutely chomping at the bit to start, no matter what system it's set on? But if you throw that exact soup, I guess, on a different planet, does it terraform a different way? Is this how we get things like aliens that we know them as now? The elongated,
Mhm.
guys that are from legend. So like where does that all play out?
Mhm.
Maybe that happened so much before all this started that it just they're a lot more technically advanced than us, and we'll get there eventually.
Yeah. And then the thing that really intrigues me is that so they go there, they go to Bennu, they pull these samples off there, and it has the building blocks of life on Earth. Is that the building blocks of the entire universe,
Mhm.
or they're just coincidentally the same as what we have? Do other asteroids potentially have the building blocks of other kinds of life?
Yeah,
Or is it all the same? Because it's like
yeah.
if that asteroid comes, hits here, deposits those things, life generates from there. If a different asteroid with different building blocks hits somewhere else, you come up with something else. So it's like, is it all the same? Are we all made up of the same compounds and the same everything everywhere? Because this is all coming back, from the beginning of the universe. And part of the reason why they picked this particular asteroid, it's a B-type asteroid, and they're considered primitive, and they're supposedly from the origins of the universe. It's not just some rock that's happenstance to be flying by. Like they pick
Mhm.
these for a reason, because they consider them quote unquote a time capsule kind of a thing. But it's like other asteroids could have other building blocks on it that are different than life on our planet. So it's like, is it just depositing different kinds of life everywhere, or is it really kind of all the same and maybe just a little tweak here and there?
Yeah, yeah. It's yeah. I mean, if you the situation is like your planet is a little hotter, then maybe you have a little more of like a just the way evolution works. You see
Mhm.
a bird that exists somewhere, they have a different jam going on in their whole body, versus the tropics to the desert. There's just different animals, so it's just like
Mhm.
it would evolve to whatever it needs to be. It's the same reason we don't have hair all over us anymore.
Mhm.
Yeah, we do, but we'll get
Yeah.
older. It's upsetting. Oh, I don't. Were we gonna say? Sorry, I'm a complete tangent. But I watched the movie Sasquatch Sunset. Did you want to do an episode on that shit? Because that movie.
I hadn't seen it yet, but I thought maybe we could do a quick review on it or something. But we could do that a different day or something.
Maybe I won't talk about it
Yeah.
then. I don't know.
But yeah, I'm looking
You know,
forward to checking it out. I wasn't able to
check it
watch it
out.
with you last weekend because I had to go visit my daughter at college and go to the hockey game and stuff. So like
Yeah,
I was busy
it's
fathering.
it's I not gonna lie, I couldn't wait for it to be over. I mean, if you absolutely wanted to watch like what would be like a nature documentary on Sasquatch,
Mhm.
I mean, there's no talking, which is fine. Um, but and that's just the whole thing. It's just
Mhm.
them Sasquatching out in the middle of nowhere, and you're like, okay. And
Mhm.
then, I mean, their wieners are just hanging out the whole time. There's a lot.
Well, I'm
The one
definitely going
girl's
to tune in then.
and so there's very funny parts, but they're so like far in between, and they're not. It's not a comedy by any means. Which it's funny. Who is the guy? It's the guy who played Lex Luthor in the new, and he
Yeah,
plays
which one? Gene
uh
Hackman.
oh no, yeah, it's Gene Hackman. That would be so funny. No, it's his name. He plays Mark Zuckerberg in the Facebook movie,
What the heck's his name? I
The
just
Social
watched.
Network.
Um,
That guy. He's great.
yeah, yeah.
But I can't think of his name right now. But
I
he's
just watched that movie with him in Kieran Culkin that he wrote. That
oh, he
was
did?
yeah. What the hell's his name? Anyway, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah. A quick Google search will get us there. But yeah, so he's in it, and I kept forgetting which. I mean, the makeup's so good. Honestly, like it's really good, like makeup and all that kind of stuff. Job, and they kind of explain the the um the tree knocks that they do and stuff like that, and because they're kind of like looking for their people, and they just like don't come upon, like they're just like, where are they? Maybe if we just bang on this tree, they'll show up, and they do it like together, like at the same time of day and stuff. But it's just wild. And my my friend came over to watch it, our friend Scott, and we're like, let's watch the Sunset movie. That'll be fun. And then my wife sat there, and she was just like, the whole time, because it's very particular. It is very particular, and there's just like not a thing happens. She was like, "You want to pause it?" And I was like, "I'm good." Like, you know, and I want to crap on our. I mean, everybody's, you know, they did a thing, and that thing was that thing, but wasn't for me.
Yeah. Jesse Eisenberg is the guy.
There you go. But yeah, sorry, that was a quick little tangent.
Little tangent.
Yeah, so you know, watch it at your own discretion if you like it. I'm not gonna do your crap about it. I like a lot of movies that people don't like, and hate a lot of movies that people thought were very good. But yeah, so getting back to, you know,
so what I wanted to bring up, which I thought, you know, for me was the coolest part of the whole thing was, so, you know, we talked about them, you know, the mission launched in September of 2016. Takes 2 years to get there, so it's like October of 2020 when they collect the sample. But for that, they orbit it for 2 years trying to find the right spot to do it. So they were like, all right, so we got to find the right spot. How are we going to do this? You know, who can we reach out to that can help us find the right spot? You know, because we at NASA, you know, we know so much, but we don't know enough about rock, you know, to pull this off on our own. So do you know who was the person who helped them ultimately review and analyze the entire thing for 2 years and then ultimately pick out the spot for them to land to get this sample?
No.
It's everybody's favorite guitarist and astrophysicist, Brian May from Queen.
What are you talking about?
Yes. Brian May from Queen was heavily involved in this entire mission. I don't know if you knew this or not, but he is an astrophysicist. That's what he went to college for. And he's always kind of practiced when he wasn't playing with Queen. Yeah. And he has a company that he started, or he's involved with. It's the London Stereoscopic Company that it's been around since like the 1800s, but it's went in and out of business for a long time. But he's done it since he was a little kid, and it's this we should have Scott back on this. It's a photographic procedure that they do. You remember those old like Fisher Price viewfinder things that you look through? You'd put like the card.
Yeah.
The thing kind of looks like that. So basically what you do is you take a picture of an object, and then you take a picture from like the same distance away, but just like off to the side a little bit of the same picture. And then they basically merge the two pictures together to make it 3D. And that's what the stereoscopic procedure is. And then you basically put those you look at the two pictures through the viewfinder, and makes it 3D. And, you know, this was an old thing that they did like way back in the day, like I said, like the 1800s and stuff. And it kind of went by the wayside a couple different times, but he's always done it like his whole life. And there's all kinds of like pictures of Queen and stuff that even when they were taking pictures like out on tour, he would do that. That way he could do this, you know, himself. And then ultimately they're like, we just have all these like 2D pictures of Bennu that we got to land. And then he was using those techniques of taking the two pictures and then analyzing the whole thing and basically make it into a 3D object for them to ultimately pick out the spot to do that. And then he and some of the other people, he was part of the analyzing the actual sample. And the cool part is that, so what says the techniques, you know, stereoscopy, they use it to create 3D images. The images help to find the landing site. But ultimately, all the pictures they took of Bennu over that whole time frame they've turned into a book that you can buy on Amazon. It's called Bennu 3D: The Anatomy of an Asteroid, hardcover edition. Came out July 27, 2023. And one of the authors is Brian May.
That's hilarious.
What a tangent that is. And I'm doing all this, reading up on this thing. And then I'm just like, well, I mean, if you need an expert on rock, who are you going to go to? Eddie Van Halen's dead. You got to go to Brian May,
I was like joking in my head, like he's gonna, like I was just like, is this leading to a joke of you saying it was like a guitarist, and then you said a guitarist? I was like, oh, okay, we're doing a joke, and then I don't know how I missed this, by the way, because I heard about that, and at no point did they mention it was him.
Yeah.
Or if they did, I was looking at something else.
Yeah, well, if you just Google up Brian May Bennu book, and then like the Amazon link will come up for it, and you can see like the cover of the book. But
that's awesome.
I was watching a video of the day that the samples came back down to Earth, and he wasn't there in person. He wanted to be, but he was. They were doing rehearsals for the Queen tour, so he was there just via satellite and talked about how excited he was for everybody, and he wished he could have been there, and blah blah blah. But yeah, he and his company were involved in basically making the 3D images of Bennu. That way they could ultimately find the landing spot. But I knew that he always still did his astrophysics, even as a civilian when he wasn't touring.
Yeah.
And that was always like his passion. But
that's so cool. Yeah, this story's so awesome.
Yeah, I mean, how do it's cool enough, and then now you're like Brian May's involved,
Yeah. Would you go? I'm just a little asteroid, and don't explode me. Yeah, my favorite little fact is about the actual makeup of the asteroid itself. When they put the sample down, that they realized that everything had a low gravity. Everything was basically held together by the air that is surrounding it, itself. It really it just exploded, and they're like, they put the amount of pressure it would be for you to push push down on a plunger for a coffee maker, just like that, how you do that. And they're like, we didn't do much more than that. It was just like all these rocks. They're like, oh, these things are barely holding on to each other, and they're all just because they don't have anything kind of to gather them together. The dust has flown away. But yeah, that stuff was cool. But yeah, it made me think just about how we're basically the opportunities for life throughout the galaxy is even more abundant for me now. Thinking there isn't a single situation where if there's these little life seeds flying around the universe, wherever they be, as long as they hit the right planet at the right time in its in its growing process, you got yourself people, or beings, or even microbes. I'm sure there's different levels of where they're at in their
and if this is just happening somewhere right now, to them we're considered advanced beings. When we're we think of aliens and things like that they're so much more advanced than us. It's like, well, where are we on the kind of on the food chain here? We're not necessarily at the bottom.
Maybe we are.
We are.
Yeah. I wonder what the scale is. They're like, if we're gonna do a 1 to 10 system, we'll meet an alien. They're like, you guys are a solid 3. And you're like,
yeah,
3.
I'm not sure I'd go that high.
Yeah,
we're about a 1.
Yeah. That gives a little bit. They're like, you guys are still fighting people and having war. We're like, yeah. They're gonna have stuff that I want. And you're like, yeah, guys, it's fine.
It's there's so much more than this. We're sitting here bickering when there's so much more out there.
I know
to achieve.
Money over everything. You're like, yeah, that's what they told us was important. You're like, no, it's not that at all. But yeah, I mean, so I don't know. I'm really excited to find out what they learn more of. Actually, my favorite thing was that they were saying kids now that are in elementary school will someday get their doctorate and be able to request samples of this to play with and experiment with. So it's a growing as long as you put the request in, you basically like can like play with this, asteroid rock, and like maybe you'll find something new with it and stuff like that. And I find it incredibly exciting and very cool. And this discovery is I don't know if it's like this time or it's just I'm living through this time, but I feel like discoveries are becoming more and more with like new things, like of just like taking pictures of black holes and finding new like galaxies that were like, oh, we didn't know this was here, and just learning so much. And I don't know if it's just my ignorance of like, no, we've known about this for years, and it's just more of like the public's a little more accessible now as opposed to before when you had to release it so like grandly, where now you can just kind of like put it out there and the internet will kind of do what the internet does. And if you already follow a space person, you're gonna have space information, because I follow obviously like this. I follow this one girl. She like does space stuff all the time. I think her name is just like the space girl. I forget. But she does really cool stuff. Hank Green does really good like breakdowns of the way kind of. Yeah, I already explained. I tried to absorb that information again. I couldn't about the ingots, but to redeem myself. But yeah, so there's just all these people, so like it's just easier to get this information out. So it just feels like there's like more and more little things. I mean, I don't know, even just like alien stuff that's been happening, like all the drones and stuff. I learned about so much stuff, but with like ground floor stuff, as opposed to there having to be like a special on TV about a thing. I could just like find somebody who had footage that they just like uploaded because they saw it. So information is just so quickly like becoming available to us, which is a good thing and a bad thing. Because sometimes our brains can't take that much information.
Yeah, and then like the samples that they got from this, that we didn't just come home and keep them to ourselves. We gave them to different agencies all over the world to do their own analyzation of it. And see what they can find, and it's for the the greater good kind of a thing,
Yeah, it's freaking rad. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, I'll keep your eye in the sky and see what's out there and what we're working with. I see this as kind of a stepping off point from all the things that I'm into. I've always been into looking up and seeing what's out there, and there's always mysterious things, and all these mysterious things are kind of culminating and crossing worlds with me, which is space travel, and my constant question of like, if we've been, when did this all start? How did this all start? And this is just like another little arrow in my quiver of being like, oh, actually, I have a fun fact. I find this very fun factable. You're always the guy who knows exactly where the space station is. And we'll let the kids know. You're always pointing at the sky, and it's always kind of
I'm like, oh, look at this planet, look at that planet. They think I'm a wizard because they're like, this guy knows where the planets are. little do they know I have an app on my phone that tells me everything.
Tell me your secret.
I never mention that though. I always just be like, that's a planet over there. That's They're like, how does he know that?
Why would you? I got my ways. Don't you worry about it. Old wizard Brian. I don't know. It's freaking rad out there. It's just it's a good time. I don't know. Just keep looking to the sky.
It'll be interesting to see that as these next missions, what they bring back and how it compares to what kind of like what I was saying earlier. Is it going to be the same stuff on every asteroid? If they find something on an asteroid, will it be the same or will it be something different?
Yeah, I mean, they might even find like fully new stuff. I mean, the stuff they found was just the amino acids, and I'm not gonna pretend like I know what that word is. Nuclear base, the DNA blocks. One.
Yeah, I mean, it pretty much had like all the components of DNA and RNA.
Yeah.
And like 14 of the 20 amino acids used to make proteins and stuff. So I mean, like it's practically has life on. Plus, the remnants of water and things like everything that we would need to live. Almost all of it was on just this one asteroid.
I wonder if, in that same regard, something like making maybe a more advanced species would require like a different makeup. So like, if let's say there's 14 of these essential amino acids to create life, and one that hits a different planet would have maybe all of them. If that creates an entirely different strand of, let's just say these things only make what we have here. It makes a totally different like it's just like an optimized version or whatever. It's just like because they have these extra amino acids and they go like, oh look, we got a lot of cool stuff here, and they're like, oh, this is sweet. Yeah, I don't know. It's cool to think about. It's definitely a fun little like thought experiment on like where we're at, where we're going, what we're doing. A way to kind of maybe it always is like a look into the past, which is very fun. Of just like learning the new ways that we're developing ourselves. I know this isn't like a monstery suit. I'm sure that you guys tune into the station for certain reasons, and this isn't it. But but listen, this is my show, me and Brian's show, and we can talk about whatever we want. So if you wanted to hear about, Mothman, you can go this week.
Then tune in next week. We'll get back to the regular scheduled programs next week.
Yeah, but I was literally like just so excited about it, and then I was talking to I worked with this guy, and I knew he was like really into NASA, and I was like, "Would you know anything about this?" And he was like, "No, I've been following the crash thing that happened," and I was like, "I don't know what that." And then he then got into it, and then started sending me like 48 articles about it, and I was like,
what a shame that was.
Oh, is it? Say hello to Brandon's here. Is that how you pronounce that? Says hi, David and Brian. Hope all is well. What about life on Mars? I mean, honestly, like that could be. It's the same situation. That's like another huge thing. It's just like maybe even that happened like a long time before, and if that same asteroid hits Earth, let's say it hits Earth and Mars. At staggered times, maybe that already had happened. That cycle of the way Mars, its life cycle of being able to sustain life, and then also just like fall away. However that society would crash. Maybe they didn't get as advanced to it as us. Maybe it's just and it wasn't capable of like keeping up with it because it didn't have the right recipe for life. And then but we got hit with the same one, and we kind of. Sometimes these things are just accidents too. I remember listening to a thing about how AIDS was not created, that's the wrong word, but like how it formed,
evolved, and
how it evolved, and basically like it was such the evolutional jump of where it was, what it should have done versus where it went, and it required like all these just like complete flukes. Like from this DNA, because you should have just been species to species from these like hill monkeys in like not in a derogatory way, like literally monkeys in Africa, and these people would hunt them and eat their meat. And when they did that, they like whatever, it wasn't supposed to be like this, but they got sick from it, and then that's kind of where all that kind of built start. But like for that to happen took so many like things to go wrong for that to eventually become what it is what it is now. But yes, it could be like the same kind of thing. That's a hard jump, but but yeah. So maybe the DNA that dropped on Mars and then created that life. My dogs are going crazy. I don't know if you guys can hear this. But like it's just it wasn't sustainable, so it didn't do that, and then it kind of built from there. And I don't know. Like I'd be interested. I mean, they did say that like life did exist there. It's microbial that we can prove. So it's like whether you decide that is that life, because life did exist there. If that's the case, does it have to be a person with a job and who has a name? That's like a what would that be considered? It's an ethical question.
Yeah. Well, and we could go back to what we talked about last week with like, Valiant Thor. Maybe we're looking for life on Mars, on the surface, and maybe the life was inside the planet, like what he talked about with Venus.
The friends we made along the way. Valiant Thor, the friends we made along the way. Yeah. I don't know. It could be anywhere. It could do anything. I mean, I've always been interested in Mars and like its whole impact on like because it's the closest that we have to a thing that we can observe that has things that are similar, that isn't just like a a planet made of acid like all the other ones are.
Yeah,
It's like
it's not
the
like
moment you
raining
touch it-
sulfuric acid. Yeah,
yeah. It's just like, I mean, it's just rocks, and it's ionized rocks. That's the reason it's so red, and so we can kind of observe it. But I mean, I'm so excited about hearing what they're going to come up with when it comes to the Jupiter moon. What's the Jupiter moon? Can't remember right now.
yeah.
The one that
I remember the other 15 moons, but I don't remember the one that they're actually landing on.
I do not play Surviving Mars. I would love to though. Wait, can you hear about that?
No.
I did not hear about any of this stuff. I'm willing to try a new game though. By the way, Surviving Mars. I do.
Yeah. I don't.
feel like
I don't game because I'm not good at it, so I gave it up a long time ago.
Do game.
Although I did beat 2 games in my life: the original Super Mario Brothers and Contra.
My favorite games are.
I haven't beat a game since like 1984.
Oh. Well, I'm currently playing Hitman, and it's amazing. My favorite games are Last of Us, if you needed to know, and maybe Horizon Zero Dawn is my second favorite game because I like hunting robot dinosaurs. But yeah, I don't know. There's so many opportunities. So I mean, if like you were saying, maybe they're underground. It's very possible. I mean, like I find it a little hard to believe because it is so like I can't imagine that anything could really survive. I get there are things that just live underground. I guess I'm just thinking of like quality of life, but they don't have to be like people like us that are like, I'd like to be outside. Like we're probably the most depressed race, right? We just have like needs and wants, and I don't think that's like the case with animals. They just kind of like, I just want to survive to the next day and hope that happens. And we're like, it's a little too hot here. I gotta have my music and my YouTube. So yeah.
Speaking of caves, I watched a Netflix documentary. I think it came out last year. It was called like Unknown Cave of Bones. Did you ever see that?
Cave of Bones, no.
Yeah. So it essentially talked about how and I guess this kind of has a little bit of tie into kind of like the whole Bigfoot thing, but they found bones from a species that's part of the Homo genealogy, I guess is what it would be, but it's not us, it's not Homo sapiens, but it's further down the line, but essentially it's like kind of cavemanish, but they were around and they were in these caves and they found bones in these caves and they're like, oh, were people just die down here, or did they just throw the bodies down here, whatever? And they ended up finding out that they were actually burying their dead, in this cave system, and they found bodies of these ancient people who were like in the fetal position. Some of them even had like rocks in their hand that seemed to be like trinkets that were like special to them or something, and they were actually buried and went through like a burial process. And we're talking about how the oldest burials that we know about, I believe, are like in Israel from several 100,000 years ago, whatever. But this was like went back like 300,000 or 400,000 years earlier than that, and basically talking about these kind of cave people that didn't even have all the same like DNA of us. They didn't, they, like I said, they weren't Homo sapiens. I'm totally like butchering this whole thing. You should watch the documentary, but they talked about how they found these bodies, and you could see them, how they found the people, these species were burying their dead literally hundreds of thousands of years before we thought that anybody else was. And it kind of goes back to what, why don't we ever find Bigfoot bodies? Maybe they bury their dead too. And because like this, like I said, it's not us, it's a different species of animal, but they're like, it's one of the first animal species they found that actually bury their dead. And I thought that was so interesting. And they were doing like rituals to bury the dead. It wasn't like they just like dug a hole, threw them in there, buried it. Like it was like a whole burial ritual kind of a thing.
There was purpose to it. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it was like ancient humanoids, that were, it was really interesting. It was like an hour and a half documentary. It's not super in depth, but they show you going into the caves. These are the people, the archaeologists doing the stuff, and but it was really cool.
Heck yeah. What was it called? Sorry.
It was called Cave of Bones, like Unknown Cave of Bones, I think was what it's called.
That's metal.
Yeah. It's the name of my new band.
Yeah, playing at the grog shop this weekend.
Yeah.
Cave of Bones.
But yeah, it was on Netflix. It either came out like late 2023 or maybe it was 2024. But yeah, it's relatively new. But I hadn't come across it before, and I was checking it out the other night. But yeah, it was really interesting.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out. I've just been absorbing. I've been doing a lot of work lately, so I've been like just having something on while I work, and I've been absorbing like I watched something called Myths and Monsters on Prime, but I was barely paying attention to it. But it was pretty cool. But I have to work on things that I'm kind of on deadline for. So at night when I'm I have no time to myself. I feel like I've never like owned my time. It's just like, oh, I gotta do this. I gotta do commission real quick and whatever. So like I'm on that kick right now, but it's fine. I'm actually looking for new shows. So if anybody has any ideas, I think I just might actually finally finish Barry with this time. But I'm also fishing for new shows because I kind of need something. I kind of need a podcast, but like I've been finding myself like not able to focus on podcasts, like because it's just not enough for. I need like more juice. I'm like I need to just like watch this kind of podcast, like a video podcast where I can just sit there and like for some reason have them on. I found that D&D like campaigns really help because like it has a visual element if I need it, but it's also just like I can just listen and not look at them do anything. So I'm just doing a lot of Dimension 20, which is amazing. If you guys are D&D kids,
we're knee deep in the new season of Severance, which is so good.
I haven't even watched that show yet, so I need to get on that. So I don't know. We don't watch anything. My wife just wants to watch like Jeopardy, and she's like, "I'm going to bed," and I'm like, "Okay, you don't want to watch anything with me?" She's like, "I'm good." I'm like, okay, bye. But yeah. So actually, my in-laws are here, so it's pizza time. So yeah,
you should invite them down and see if they have any Bigfoot stories or.
Oh yeah, I bet they do. I bet they totally do. Like the first time he tells me about it, we'll be on the podcast. Back in '73, I'm like, what the heck?
You've been making fun of me for all these years. You've been holding out on this story.
And it's like a really good story. Like groundbreaking. I kept it in my garage. It's like in a cooler or something. He's got a picture, bunch of video evidence. He's just like, yeah, he's got that mind of like, yeah, it doesn't matter, right? And they're like, this is such a big fight.
Yeah,
he's been holding on to it.
He's like, I didn't want to draw attention to myself, so I just kept it safe.
Lay low.
Yeah, I still have it in my garage.
Yeah, it's the bones, really. They always say they bury them, but they don't. And then you find out they have like a different method. You're like, oh my god, you have the building blocks for everything we've been looking for. Oh man. But yeah, so that's all I got for this topic. But it's very cool. Just keep an eye on it. Look up, have a good time with it. Especially right now, everything's really clear. You can see everything. Every time I go out, it's really cold. I always tend to look up because it's usually the clearest it ever is. At least where I'm at. If you live in a cool place where you can actually see the stars, that's awesome. But I live in the city, and there's maybe like one, and it's very, very dull.
And at this time of year, it's always cloudy, so
Yeah. So when it's not clear, it's usually cloudy, and it's mostly cloudy. 'Cause it's Ohio, and we're just somebody moved here, and they're like, "Is it always like this?" I'm like, "I'm so sorry." Oh, sweet summer child.
Yeah.
It'll be like this forever.
Yeah.
Oh, you win. I don't know. We have to go, but I just want to answer the question that just popped up. To Dave and Brian, are you both NFL sports fans? I am not. Brian is.
I am definitely.
Brian, you are a
go Eagles.
Oh wait, who is it? Is it the Eagles and the Bills?
And the Chiefs. Yeah, the Bills lost.
I thought the Bills won. I was gonna root for the Bills.
They're cheering for a meteor to hit. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I have no love for the Eagles, but at this point, I'm just anti-Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to see more Taylor Swift. That's all I want. Yeah. Listen, I got my thing, and my thing is pop music. It's all cool. It's all gravy.
Mm.
But yeah, so that's all I got on that topic. Like I said, just keep looking up. Have a good time. I'm gonna go eat some pizza. Well, I'm gonna look at the pizza and go, that sounds really good. I want to eat right now, but my fat ass needs to lose some weight. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to do the best I can, and I'm doing okay. I've already dropped like 9 pounds, so we'll see how it goes. I want to be jacked. Next time you see me, I want to be like, sorry, can't even fit in the screen because I'm so jacked. Wait, why? On the horizon for this stream. Oh, just so you know, it just says David Bryan, what do you have on the horizon for the stream? We do not know. We are winging this. And we're doing our best, but like, we're just kind of this podcast should be called Two Dads who are just dadding. Because that's what we're vibing. We're just like we like to talk about fun stuff. Hopefully we'll have we actually want to talk about a little bit of murder soon, like true crime stories. So hopefully we'll have a couple of those on the horizon. We have a haunted house expert coming up soon. Actually, we do have a couple of things that we do know about. We're winging it a little less the more and more we're going along, but we're
starting to get a little organized. But essentially, we're just having the same conversation we'd be having hanging out at each other's house on a Friday night.
I mean, I'm finding the biggest problem is it's like I don't really know a lot of people who are like really, really into this stuff, and like I kind of have to find them. So that's kind of when I put the call out, like, hey, and we want to come on and talk about this because I love this stuff, but I just love it. And then I hang out with a bunch of just like normal people who don't do this stuff. Like I tell them about my Bigfoot, like thing that I go to, and they go like, oh, that's weird. And I'm like, yeah, I know. So, but yeah, so I'm on the hunt for weirder friends that'll talk about weird stuff with me and come on and also do more of that. So I don't know. But yeah, so Kitchen the Conversation is over this week, but I appreciate you all coming and checking us out. Come join us live every Friday at 5. We're usually on having a good time. Talking about our favorite topics. And this week was a little science heavy, but that's what I like. And again, this is our show. We can do whatever we want. So if you want to, I'm sure if you want to talk about or just listen to stuff about Bigfoot, give it a half hour. I'm sure there'll be a show on that, and I'm sure we'll have one soon too. But yeah, so
or come on and talk about Bigfoot with us.
Yeah. Where are you at? Yeah, if you want to get hold of us, monsterstudentpodcast@gmail.com. Just shoot over any kind of things that you want to, if you want to get on the show. If you just have a topic that you want us to cover, shoot it our way. We're open to literally anything.
Or a cool story, cool experience.
Yeah. Outside of an OnlyFans, I think I'm open to just do whatever. I don't know. I mean, don't rule it out. If you want to see it, I'll show it to you. This has gone off the rails again. But yeah,
I hope your in-laws aren't listening now.
Yeah, they're like, we didn't hear anything but the last part. Like, oh, no. But yeah, so we're here every Friday. Check us out on all the places. Facebook is a Monster Stew Podcast. I just post the episode there. And then all the things. So yeah, mischieffactory.com if you want to see some cool art that I made. Oh, also I want to end with this. I made a Batman, and I was going to show it off because I painted him. He's not completely done yet, but he's mostly done. Let me see if I can get him a shot. Move my microphone a little. I made this Batman.
It's come a long way since the last time I saw it.
Yeah. Oh my god, I can't let this joke pass up. Only Bigfoot fans is hilarious, and that's actually a fantastic name for a podcast. I didn't make it happen. Yes, I made this cool Batman. I love him so much. Let me put him back in his little thing before he breaks. This is great podcast banter. This is important that I do this before I stop. Okay, I didn't want to leave it on side because I had to get off. I was thinking 12 things before I get off the podcast, but I have to go. So, thanks for joining us. Kitchen Conversations over, like I said. Thank you for joining us every Friday at 5. We're live and having some good times, and I appreciate y'all for joining us. All right, see you later, Brian. Bye.